Hey guys, we're going to be taking a look at how to add and subtract polynomials today. We've got a couple of rules that we're going to see, and then we're also going to take a look at a couple examples. So let's get right to it. First off, our rules. We're only allowed to add or subtract terms that have the same power. So that means if I have x to the second, I can add it to another x to the second, but I can't add x to the second power plus x to the third power. Those have to stay two separate things. The other rule that we have is we're only going to add or subtract the coefficients. The powers are not going to change. So back to that first example, if I have x to the second power plus x to the second power, that's going to be 2x to the second power, because similarly as x plus x is 2x. If I have 3x to the fourth power plus 5x to the fourth power, that will give me 8x to the fourth power. The powers are never going to change when we're adding or subtracting. We will eventually get to multiplying and dividing, and in those cases the powers will change, but for adding or subtracting, our powers are always going to stay the same. We've got our first example right here, and whenever I have problems written out like this, I like to write them in vertical form. And that just means putting one on top of the other. So I'm going to have the x plus 2 plus 2x plus 1 on top. And then I'm going to have the 4x squared minus 5x plus 6 right below it. And I'm going to line up my powers. So anytime I have the same power, I'm just going to put them on top of each other. So the 4x squared is going to go below the x squared. The negative 5x will go below the 2x, and the 6 will go below the 1. And we are adding here, trying to squeeze in a plus sign there, and so we just add straight down. 1 plus 6 is 7. 2 plus negative 5 is going to be negative 3, so 2x plus negative 5x will be negative 3x. And then x squared plus 4x squared will be 5x squared, because if there's no number in front of an x, it counts as a 1. We make sure we keep the powers the same for everything, and this is it. We're done. This is our answer right here. So let's take a look at one more example that changes things up slightly. All right, here we have 8x to the third plus 4x minus 7, and this is all minus 2x to the third plus x squared plus 8. Now notice I don't have an x squared over here, and I don't have a regular x over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a placeholder, a 0 basically, when we line everything up. So I'm going to line up this first one. So I've got 8x to the third. Now I don't have an x squared here, so I'm going to put plus 0x squared. Then I have my 4x, and lastly my minus 7. Just like that. Now, the second one over here, I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I don't have an x, so I'm going to put my placeholder where the x is. So I start with the 2x to the third. I've got my x squared. Now I don't have the regular x term, so it's going to be plus 0x. And then lastly, the plus 8. So we're going to subtract here. So I've got 8 minus 2 will give me 6. So 8x to the third minus 2x to the third will be 6x to the third. I have 0x squared minus x squared. This is basically 0 minus 1. 0 minus 1 should give us negative 1. So I'm going to have negative x squared here. Moving on down the line, I now have 4x minus 0x, or just 4 minus 0, which is still just 4, so I'm going to have plus 4x. And then lastly, I have negative 7 minus 8. Negative 7 minus 8 will give us a negative 15. So this right here is my solution. 6x to the third minus x squared plus 4x minus 15.